Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
I want to talk about the future of the New Orleans Saints. You know, it was funny when we did the show tease back on Monday, mentioned we're going to recap Monday Night Football, all those things. Yeah, we're not going to recap Monday Night Football because there's just nothing of note. You lost 34-0 to the Green Bay Packers. It was not competitive. Spencer Rattler was under constant duress. You couldn't stop them. All the things that we kind of expected when we previewed the game, where I said, yeah, look, it's a 14.5-point line. I expect the Packers to win and cover, mainly just because I don't know how the Saints are going to score. And lo and behold, they didn't. So that's really all I got for you on that game. I'm much more interested in the future. You lost 34-0. You've been eliminated from playoff contention. You're playing the Raiders and then the Bucs. You're probably going to go 1-1 in those games, and then you'll move on into the future and what's next in your organization when it comes to head coaching, draft, all of those things. So head coaching is obviously where we're going to focus with that. And a few weeks back, Matt and I did this exercise where he sat in here and played the role of Ben Johnson, right? Just because, I mean, we know Ben Johnson is the biggest name on the coaching market this season. He's going to have his pick. Every opening will interview Ben Johnson. He is that candidate. And the release is the third year in a row. It feels like that he's been that candidate. So Matt played the role of Ben Johnson. I played the role of the agent, right? And we went through a certain amount of jobs that we thought would come open. I think we had 5. At that point, Saints and Jets were the only 2 that were actually open. And then we added a couple more. Giants, Jags. I think even at that point, there was a lot of the smoke around Mike McCarthy, so we had the Cowboys in there and whatnot. And we kind of went through and we ranked coaching vacancies. For what it's worth, we landed on the Jaguars, if it comes open, as the best. Well, Thursday at ESPN.com, Bill Barnwell did the same thing. He ranked 9 potential and current head coach openings in the NFL from ugliest to most desirable. The caveat here that I will throw out before getting in there is, again, there's only 3 that are actually open. New Orleans, the Jets, and the Bears. Everything else on Bill's piece is speculation. But he came up with 9. I won't bury the lead. If you're sitting here listening and thinking to yourself, the Saints are number 9, aren't they? Bill Barnwell thinks they're the worst head coach opening in the NFL. You're correct. Yes, the Saints checked in at number 9. For what it's worth, he also had the Jags listed and had them listed at number 1, just as we kind of came to conclusion here on this show. If the Jags move on, that is going to be an incredibly desirable place to be. But what I want to do is not necessarily focus so much on the hypothetical, because there's going to be more coaching. Like week 18 is coming up fast and furious. You'll have Black Monday. You'll have a bunch more openings. And a lot of them are probably the ones on this list from Barnwell, like the Giants, like the Raiders, potentially, all of those things. I mean, for goodness sake, they got people flying planes over MetLife when the Giants are playing, telling Mara to sell the team. But looking at just the 3 that are open, where do the Saints rank? Saints, Jets, Bears. And for me, this is really a conversation of Saints and Jets right now, because I think the Bears are better than both of those. The Bears are not without their problems, don't get me wrong. I mean, they have plenty. But you have in Chicago some of the things that you have in New Orleans, but you also have a young quarterback that you're staking your franchise to in Caleb Williams. You have an infinitely better cap situation. There's going to be some turnover on that team and that roster because there's guys that probably just aren't happy and you're going to move on, but a lot of them have tradable contracts as well. And you can move on that way. There's a lot to go around in Chicago. Do you lack top-end talent? Yeah, a little bit. Are you in one of the toughest divisions? Well, this season you're in the toughest division in the NFC North. But again, quarterback, cap space, ownership, all of those things outweigh what the Saints have. of the 3 openings that are official, yeah, Chicago is the best, and they should be. And for what it's worth, they checked in at number 3 on Barnwell's list. So when it comes down to the New Orleans Saints and the New York Jets, this is, for me, really a coin flip. Because I can make a case either way. Like, I can make a case that the Saints is a better opening than the New York Jets. And it starts 100% with ownership as to why. Woody Johnson is nuts. Like, it's hard for me to ever look at a job opening in professional sports, not just the NFL, in professional sports where ownership is bad and say, yeah, that's a desirable place to be. Like, if Carolina was open again this season, would anyone consider them a good opening or a desirable place to be with Tepper? No, because he's a moron and can't keep his hands out of his own team. Again, you could say, hey, Moose, it's his team, it's his prerogative. Sure, but then again, what you're doing isn't working. Pouring drinks on fans isn't working. All the things that he's done outside of just the bad football decisions. The same can be said with the Saints and with the Jets and Woody Johnson. That's just not a good spot. He's not patient. You have the reports about his sons being involved in decisions. How true all those are, I don't know, but that's bad optics, and that didn't just come from nowhere. And then you look at the flip side of the coin and you look at Ms. Gale, and while there could be things said, okay, is Ms. Gale really that great of an owner in sports? Here's one thing that she is. She's willing to spend, she's patient, and she trusts, again, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, she trusts the people in her front office under her to make the right choice and to once again win at a high clip. If I had the choice to go work for Gail Benson or Woody Johnson, I'm going to pick Gail Benson every time. The other thing with the Jets, and again, this is where it's like, okay, is this actually a pro or a con for the Saints? The Jets are going to have to hire a new general manager because they can that guy too. Mickey Loomis is going to be back. Do I think that's the right move? No, I don't, but it points to stability there where instead of trying to match, you're still trying to match a head coach and a general manager in both situations, but in the Jets situation, it's a little more hairy because you're bringing in guys that are both going to be new on that job. There isn't familiarity with the franchise or anything of that nature. The one thing that the Jets have that the Saints don't is the young core. Is that enough to really look at it and put them over the top? Because while you have the young core, it's kind of late in the game if you're the Jets. And I know a lot of you are probably saying, what about Aaron Rodgers? I'll get to Aaron Rodgers. You look at the Jets, you've got Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Breece Hall. That's a really good young core on both sides. That's 2 offensive and 2 defensive. The problem is they're all eligible for extensions this offseason. I don't think you're going to be able to extend all of them because another similarity between the Saints and the Jets is their cap situation. Both of them stinks. Both of them are not in a good spot there. Saints are worse, so that's a check mark towards the Jets, but they both still have issues with cap. You would eat up about the 31 and a half, depending on where you look, million in cap space if you were to try to re-sign all 4 of those guys and keep your young core. And oh, by the way, you still have to figure out the quarterback issue. Because, y'all, Aaron Rodgers was asked the other day if he thought he'd be back in New York, and his response was, ask Woody. And look, the production from Rodgers has slipped. The Jets are guaranteed a worse record in 2024 with Aaron Rodgers than they finished with in 22 or 23. A lot of those were with Zach Wilson. You're not in a good spot quarterback there, but then again, neither are the Saints. You're tied to Derek Carr. He's mid at best, and you'll go forth with that, and we all know what that is. I think when I actually look at this and I lay this out, it's hard for me to not look at this and be like, I'd actually think the Saints are the better job opening than the New York Jets right now. Media market aside, all of that, like location and all that, definitely favors the Jets. But if you're just looking at on field, even with the Saints' issues on field and in the roster, which they have, the dysfunction that is the New York Jets is off-putting to me if I were a potential head coaching candidate. So I would actually have the Saints as the number 2 current opening and the Jets behind them. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. If you disagree with me, get in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat. If you agree, get in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat. Twitter as well, at Musso Matthew. But coin flip for me, and I'm calling Saints in the air and see if it lands, face up on that coin flip. So, again, for all the issues the Saints have in the front office, and there's plenty, and those have been well documented here and probably on any talk medium and really in country that bring up the New Orleans Saints. I like the consistency in ownership, the patience of the ownership, and the willingness to win over just about anything that the Jets can provide. Is that enough to land Ben Johnson? I don't know. Probably not. Was it enough to get you a head coach that you're ready to take a chance on, that you believe in going forward? Yeah, it is. Is it enough to make you a desirable location? Yeah, it is. Not the most, but not the least either. We'll see. Long, busy offseason ahead of Mickey Loomis, Jeff Ireland, and Gail Benson as they look to restore the Saints. A rebuild is in need, but if history has shown us anything, they're going to go all in and see what they can do. They won't have many more chances to do that, but probably the direction that they're going to take.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.